Hello guys, welcome to another tutorial. Now I recreated that picture on the thumbnail for a client, so I'm just wearing it for you guys to see if she catch me. But can you see how it is on my body? It is very fine. Me, I'm very tall, a bit taller than her, so I'm just showing you guys everything. We use Aso Oke with Ankara. That is what I used to make this tutorial. Now let me tell you some few measurements you need to take before you start drafting. So you're going to place your tape on the center of your back, and you now measure it to wherever you want your sleeve length to get to. That is how to take a kaftan or a bubu sleeve length. Now after that, you are going to measure the depth. Now you can see there's an opening on the front, the neckline. You are going to measure, and also there's a slit on the down part, so you are going to measure. You can as well tell somebody to measure you where you want your slit to start from. And the last measurement is your round sleeve, so the fullest part of your body, you are going to measure it. Now let's get started. So I have this Ankara. It is folded into four. I folded it into two first, then I now folded it again. That makes it four. You guys know how to do this. So after folding this Ankara, now the first measurement we took is the length of the sleeve, because there is no sleeve joining on this pattern. That is why you take it from the back. Now you can see I'm making some calculations there. I wanted everything to be 18 inches or 17 and a half. So by the time I minus 2 inches band or 2.5 inches band, whatever we have is what I'm marking all the way down. So I'm marking 15.5 inches all the way down, and I'm going to be cutting that off, so we don't need that excess fabric. So after that, I'm going to put the neck width. I'm going to be using 3.5 for this. If your client is a plus size, you can use 4 inches for the neck width. So for the depth of the back is 1 inch, and I'm going to also take the neck depth of the front. I'm going to use 8.5 inches. So these are the measurements I will be using. Now on the 8.5 inches, I'm going to mark 1 inch there all the way down. Then I'll go ahead and rule the line. That is for the front. We're cutting both front and back together. We're going to remove the back later. So after that, after marking the 1 inch all the way to the neck depth, I'm going to mark ½ inch before I even start all the measurements. That is for my shoulder allowance. So from the starting point, mark your ½ inch for shoulder allowance first before any other thing. I hope you guys understand. So this is me remarking my neck depth for the back. After that, I went ahead to use my ruler to connect the back neck depth to the neck width. Then on the part where you see my tape touching, I went down by 2.5 inches. I'm going to use that as my shoulder slant. Then I'll now connect it to our neck wideness. So that is going to be our shoulder slant. Then you now go ahead and connect the neck depth for the front. That's from the 3.5 to the 8.5 inches. I'm just using my chalk to just blend that to avoid any sharp edge. So for the sleeve opening, remember I measured the round sleeve. Now whatever your round sleeve gives you, add 2 inches to it. So if your round sleeve is 15, make it 17, then you divide it by 2. Now on that round sleeve point, I went in by 2 inches. Then on the 2 inches, I just went down by 1 inch. That is just to give me a good curve for the arm, for the hand. Then from the starting line, yes, I went to mark 16 inches as my client's waist length. Then from the 16 inches, I went down by 9 inches. That is the hip line. So I also square up the line. Then we are going to be putting her horizontal measurement, that is the round measurement. So since her waist is 32, I'm going to be using 8 inches plus 3.5. Yeah, so that is the 8 inches there. Then I added 3.5 for ease allowance. Now your ease allowance can start from 2 inches to whatever ease you want to give it. I hope you understand. Then I added 1 inch for sewing allowance. Now our hip is 40. I marked 10. Then I added the same 3.5 for ease allowance. Then plus the 1 inch for sewing allowance. Now if you want this fitted on your body, just like the way you see it on my body, because me, I'm busty and bigger, so you can just add 2 inches to your measurements. That will be fine. So whatever we have on the hip line is what I'm marking for the hem line. Now I'm going to roll it all the way down. So from the hip, because it's going to be a straight dress from the hip to the hem. I hope you understand. So after marking the hip length, the hip measurement, I'm going to connect it to the waist. So now if you want it to be a straight, if you don't want this pattern to have a hip measurement, that is what I'm trying to show you. You can just take it straight down instead of it having this curvy effect. But if you want it to have hip, follow what I'm doing. So I'm just still trying to explain to my student. My student is just behind, is just by the side there, so she's asking me. I'm just explaining to her. So like I said, if you want to straight down, just roll it straight down. But if you want it to have hip effects, then that is what I did. Then the next thing I went ahead to do is to put the 1/2 inch for my shoulder joining. So I put it on the sleeve length and I connected it to the neck width. Remember we gave 1/2 inch for shoulder allowance. Then I'm cutting the back first, but I'm cutting both front and back. Yes, I'm going to cut the two, and I'll cut the shoulder allowance. After that, I'm going to be cutting our shape now. So because I wanted to have that hip effect, so I'm following the one I said I would use. So I just show you guys both. Anyone you want to use there is fine. So I went ahead to cut it all the way to the down part. Then for pockets, from the hip I went up by 7.5 inches from the hip line. So I notched it. I notched both that 7.5 and the hip line. That is where I'll be fixing pockets. So I'm going to be teaching you guys how to put pockets on your dresses. So I removed one. So I left the one that has chalk, the one I rule. That will serve as the front pattern. Now I'm going to cut off the neckline. That's the front neck. So this is what I'm cutting. I'm just following all the chalk I drew, and I'm cutting it to the hemline. So our front is going to be 2 piece, the back is 1 piece. Guys, my client wants a lining, so I'm going to cut everything on the lining, both the front and the back. After cutting the lining on it, this is what we have. This Ankara is original Ankara, but she doesn't like her Ankara touching her body, so she always wants lining. Now this is me folding for the pocket. I fold 4, that is 4 piece, and I rule a straight line, so that then this is, can you see the way I place my hand? This is how I normally cut my pocket, and it is very easy and perfect for me. So just trace your hand, just the way you see me tracing my hand, like that. Then I'm going to be cutting. Now making sure the 7.5 inches I measured on my bodies is the same thing I'm going to be cutting. So I'm just following my hand shape. After cutting it, I slit the pattern into 4, into 2 on the other side, so it becomes 4. Can you see it? 1 2 3 4. Now I'm just going to be using my chalk to indicate the back, because this is the material. The front and back are looking the same. Now we are going to take our bodies, the fashion fabric, and we're going to be sewing the lining on it. Now because it is going to have a collar, we are not turning the lining with it, so place your lining on the inside of your fabric, that is the wrong side. We are going to be sewing on it. Now for it to be easy for me, I'm using my pins to secure it down. So I use my pins to secure both the front and the back together. That way one will not shift, one of the material will not shift, they would align properly. Can you see it? I did that for the second piece of the front pattern. Now I'm going to be folding my lining. Now the reason why this lining is shorter than the fabric, because it is short, that is what my lining gave me. So I'm just going to be folding the inside of the lining and I'll sew it. So if your lining is the same length with your fabric, let your lining be shorter than your fabric by 1 inch, then you can turn it from the down part. But it is easy for me this way. Now for our pocket, guys, can you see what I'm doing? I'm placing, now the part that is pointy have to face down. So you place your pocket on your fabric right side to right side, and I'm going to be pinning, and I will sew that part with just 0.25. I'll do the same thing for the other side of the pocket. So watch carefully. Like I said, the pointy part have to face down. I'll do the same thing for the two fronts. So there are 4 pieces all together. After sewing it, this is what we have. I've gone ahead to sew the pocket to the fabric. Then the next thing is to now join our shoulder. So you take your back pattern and your front pattern and you place them right side to right side. After that, I pin. Then I'm going to be sewing the shoulder with the 1/2 inch sewing allowance I added when I was drafting. I did the same thing for the other side. Now we are going to be sewing the shoulder. After sewing the shoulder, this is what it is given, and I'm going to iron it, and I would weave it before I proceed. So guys, this is it. I've gone ahead to iron and also weave. Then we are going to fold the back pattern into 2. I ironed it when I was drafting, so it is easy for me to have that middle line. So fold it into 2 and notch it, because that is where we'll be attaching our collar, our band to. Now I went ahead to measure from the shoulder to the 8.5 inches for the neck depth of the front. I'm just doing this so that my chalk, I can know where it is if I'm going to measure whatever I'm going to measure. Now from the center back, you're going to measure to the 8.5 inches. So what I'm doing, so this is me measuring all the way to the 8.5 inches. So what I have in total there is 12.75 or 12.68. You can measure it again for you to get the accurate number. Now I'm going to also measure another one from the center back there, the place I notch. I'm going to measure all the way to the hem. Then my tape is 60 inches and that is more than 60, so what I have is 62.5. that is the second measurement. Now the third measurement is where I want the slit to get to. So also from the center back, I'm going to measure to where I want the slit to get to. That is why I said you can have somebody measure it for you, or you can measure it yourself. So what the slit length from the center back is 43 inches. So guys, this is the Aso Oke or the gele that I'm going to be using. Now I haven't cut it yet. Yes, I only fuse it with paper gum to avoid fraying, because if you not fuse it, it's going to start pulling out. So after gumming it, now I'm going to measure the length of the dress. So we have on one side we have 62.5, so I'm cutting for the other side. So I have in total, what I have is 100 and something. After that, I went ahead to mark to 2.5 inches, and this is me cutting to 2.5 inches. Now this gele is very long, so I'm not having any joining on the center back, but you can as well use any fabric of your choice. You can use crepe, you can use what is it called, you can use Duchess and all of that. So I opened it, like I folded it right side to right side, so the inside is facing up. Then I went ahead to measure the neck depth, that is that 12.75, and I also measure the where I want the slit to get to. That's I decided to use 44 inches. I hope you understand. Now we are going to be sewing only from the neck depth to the 44 inches. After sewing, this is what we have. Now you are going to see the way I'm going to turn it. Now since we already have our crease line, the middle, when I ironed it before cutting, so just fold it into two to meet the other line. So when you fold into two, the way you see me folding, automatically the part where you sew will just relax on your table like this. If you are doing yours, you'll see it. So it's just going to relax, and the slit is going to open just the way you see it doing like this. Can you see it? Yeah, so I'm going to run a stitch to secure everything down. After running a stitch, guys, this is what we have. We are almost done with this tutorial. This is it. I've run a stitch down. We are going to be attaching it to our pattern now. So when you attach it, this is how it's going to look like after attaching. Now you take the, I'm also going to notch the middle of this because it does not have any joining on the shoulder, the center back, so I have to notch it so that everything will be equal. So when you notch, you're not going to place it on each other, the notch part of your pattern and the notch part of your band. And we're going to be sewing it all the way down. You also sew on the other side. After sewing, guys, this is what we have. Now guys, if you've gotten to this part, kindly give me a like, subscribe to my channel if you haven't done so. Let me know your thoughts about this tutorial in the comment section. So the next thing is to fix the band to the sleeve. Now you also cut your band and you're going to fix it to the sleeve. You do the same thing for the other side. So let's go ahead and sew it. After sewing, this is what we have. Now we are going to be joining the bodies together. So I'm going to flip it to the wrong side, and I'm going to be folding it from the sleeve. Can you see the way I'm going to sew? Now your pockets, you're going to open your pockets. Your pockets will now be on each other, like that is right side to right side. Then you sew, follow my hand, you sew like that, you sew like that, then you sew all the way down. You're going to sew all the way down. So I'll do that for the second side. Now after sewing, I went ahead to give it a very good press, and this is what we have. It is very neat and beautiful. Can you see the pocket? The pocket is very easy. You don't have any issue with this pocket. Now this is our dress. Our dress is ready. It is given. It is very beautiful, it is giving rich auntie vibes. And the ashoke is beautiful. And guys, I use half yard of ashoke. Ashoke, the full pack, I use half of it. Then this ankara, I use 3.5 yards. So thank you guys for watching. I'll see you all in my next one. Bye.